Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. All right. That wasn't very good. It's still pretty early over here for me. I've got my coffee kicking in. It was supposed to be a lot more James Hetfield like, but it was just sounded like I had gas or something.
I don't know. It sounded pretty good.
Anyway, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is an interesting episode of Cranked and Ranked for many reasons. If you're new to listening to this, welcome. This is a podcast where me, Steven, a.k.a. Old Head, and my good friend, Mr. Eddie Sparxx, we rank band discographies or other music-related shit, and we've got a 20-year age gap, and we're in two different parts of the world, and so it's basically bringing both of our really fascinating brains together, and we rank bands' discographies. It's more just about a discussion about a band. And today we are going to be discussing both of our favorite bands of all time. It's one band. Both of ours. How do you say that in correct English? I shouldn't be doing any kind of podcasting or anything because I don't even know how to speak half the time. But so yeah, Metallica is my favorite band as well as Eddie Sparxx's favorite band. But by the way, hello Eddie.
What's up?
And another reason why this is an interesting episode is because, well, I guess there's two things. About a year ago is when we started this whole Cranked and Ranked thing. And the very first podcast that we recorded was on Metallica. We ranked Metallica's albums, and none of you out there got to hear it because my pal Eddie Sparxx here, his recording equipment
shit the bed.
It shit that. That's a good way to put it. It shit the bed. And so we scrapped that one and started with Nirvana instead, which is another pretty good start. But so this has been a year. We've literally said, nope, we'll push that one. And I think it makes sense because now not only are we kind of celebrating a year anniversary of us doing this, but we're doing our favorite band and we're making up for how it began. So as long as everything goes okay, if something goes wrong this time, that's a sign from God that we should not be talking about Metallica anymore, which would be a sad life.
I think it's good that we learned the lesson to have a backup audio very early on.
Yeah.
So that we didn't get too cocky and then because the thing is when you start off it's kind of okay, yeah, mistakes were made. If I'd made this mistake 8 months in, people would be like, "Oh, Eddie, for fuck's sake, dude, come on."
Yeah. So we're actually splitting this up into two parts. This is part number 1, and we have decided to only focus on the legit original studio album releases from Metallica, which is just 10 albums. We thought about, talking about S&M and Garage Inc., but then that opens you up to a lot of other things. Like, do we also talk about S&M too? Do we also talk about the Through the Never soundtrack? There's so many things that you would have to talk about, which maybe we could do an entirely different episode where we rank all the non-album Metallica stuff, which I could see us doing that in the future. So we're sticking with the 10 studio albums, and today is going to be number 10 down to number 6, which if you guys are preparing for there to be any shit talking, you are in the wrong place. This is if you listen to the last episode where I talked about Living Color, this is going to be even more of me gushing about a band. So it's instead of the worst to the best, it is amazing to amaze balls, I guess. As they say, because when you add balls to something, it makes it even better. Isn't that right? Anyway, hold on. I'm going to get a sip of coffee. And
coffee song.
yeah.
Fill the dead air.
Yeah, I mean, I could have just edited it out, but now I edited it. I love that I say that. But now that you did that, I'm going to keep it in so everyone can hear your lovely singing voice. So we usually start off with talking about where bands came into our lives. And I'm just going to do this quickly because I feel like from my end, I've talked about this a lot. But the first time I ever heard Metallica was late at night, one night, watching a show that I believe it was the show Night Flight that came on the USA Network, and Night Flight played kung fu movies and weird animation and music videos and everything. It was a hodgepodge of different crazy stuff. And I remember one night when I was, I believe, 10 years old, seeing the music video for One. And it scared me. Something about it, I remember liking it so much to where, especially the second half of the song was just stuck in my head. I'm like, oh man. But also it kind of scared me for some weird reason. I think it's because it's the first true metal song I ever really heard. Before that, it was, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses. It wasn't anything super heavy. And not only is the ending of One heavy, but the video is also very dark. And so I didn't get into them right away because I was a little bit cautious. But then, just like many other people, once the Black Album came out, I got the Black Album. I loved it so much that I started to go back and get all their other stuff. And I was like, everything this band has done is amazing. And they have been my favorite band ever since. So yeah, and then we move it over to Mr. Eddie Sparxx, who heard Metallica on GTA San Andreas.
This is actually not one of those.
Yeah.
Funnily enough.
All right.
Finally. Yeah, for me, Metallica was very early on in me becoming a metalhead. Because the very first metal song I would say that really did it for me was actually Du Hast by Rammstein when I was about 11 years old.
Okay.
I heard that on Guitar Hero 5, and I was like, oh dude, where is this heavy metal stuff been my whole fucking life? And then not long after that I heard Figaro by System of a Down, and I thought, oh shit, there's
That's an
funny
odd
lyrics
to metal. Yeah.
Yeah, there's funny lyrics in some of these bands as well. Obviously Metallica aren't known for funny lyrics, but
at least not intentionally.
Yeah.
You see, folks, now that's a thing to point out here is as much as people shit talk Metallica, I think we are both fans that are huge fans, but we also recognize the weak points and the funny moments in this band. We're not just full-on fanboys that praise everything they've done like they're perfect, but I actually do think that their missteps have made me a bigger fan, and so it's fun. Yeah. It's fun to take the piss a little bit, as they say in your country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Piss take culture is strong on this podcast.
Yeah, but it's obviously with love. So anyway,
it's all in good fun.
You know what I was just thinking? Every time I think of Du Hast, this is a different topic here. And maybe you can do this for me, because I don't know if somebody already did this, but every time I hear Du Hast, I also hear the song The Bad Touch by the Bloodhound Gang. And I'm like, can those be put together? To where you've got the Du Hast, you and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals. Do you think that could that work?
I will do some. I'll crunch some numbers.
I don't know why those two go together in my brain, and maybe somebody already did it, but if not, I feel like that would be the music from Du Hast with the stuff from Bad Touch on top of it. I just think that would be, and also seems kind of appropriate for that band. Anyway, so we're wasting time because I know this is going to be long. Both of these episodes are going to be long, so get ready, get your popcorn, get your beer, get your groove on. I don't fucking know. Because we're going to be talking about Metallica. You didn't really even. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay.
It was Du Hast, then it was Sigaro, and then you found Metallica.
Yeah, so essentially what had happened was, my uncle was still living with us at the time, and he had the Live Ship Binge and Purge box set, which is now mine. But it's like the VHS original one, and I remember always seeing it on his shelf as a kid, and I thought, that's funny, it says shit on it. And then and then eventually I like kind of as I got into like, rock and metal, I went up to him and asked, Hey Justin, what's in that box? And he was like, I'm about to show you something really fucking cool. And he said, right, take this tape, put it in the VCR, and let's just watch the opening, few songs from it. I was glued to the fucking screen.
Which one was it? Was it the Justice concert?
It was Seattle. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So it was that one. So I saw Blackened, and I was immediately glued to it. I thought
that's a good intro.
I thought, holy shit balls,
And how old were you at the time?
11.
Okay.
So I was like,
all right. So we both discovered him around the same time.
Yeah, because what was it?
Age anyway.
I had it's kind of funny actually, because like it was a pretty overnight thing how my obsession shifted, because from about 2005 all the way up to the day David Tennant stopped being the Doctor in Doctor Who. Doctor Who was my obsession for 5 straight years, and then I got Guitar Hero 5 like 3 days before David Tennant stopped being the Doctor on New Year's Day 2010, and they pretty much did a little crisscross, and within like a week my uncle had burned me all of these like mixed CDs, and I just put everything on there onto my iPod, and I was like, this stuff is fucking incredible. And I remember like I think I'm getting to the Metallica part of it now, where I looked at my track listing, and by sheer chance, I saw a little track that said Master of Puppets, and I was like, oh, Master of Puppets? That sounds disturbing. I want some of that. Put it on, and then it was almost kind of like one of those nice TV moments where like you put a pair of headphones on and it transports you somewhere else completely.
Yeah.
And it was from that moment on I thought to myself, this is fucking rad. I love this. This is my favorite version of whatever this whole new world that's opened up to me is. But yeah, that's my little nice little love story with Metallica.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So all right, well then cool, and that brings us to now. So for Eddie, we're talking about, I don't know, 10 years late. What are you, 23? Are you 23 yet?
23 in literally 5 days now.
Wow. Okay. So it's been, a little over 10 years for you, and then it's been a little over 30 years for me being into Metallica. And so this will be interesting. So with my ranking, as I usually try to do, because I think when we first did this podcast a year ago, I went very personal. Like, how do I feel about these albums? Which ones do I want to listen to the most? And I put them in that order. But now, as I've been doing this podcast, I always try to find that middle ground between how I feel and taking an objective look at the albums from, what they did at the time. Was it a progression? Did they try something different? Was it successful? All of these things. And so it's been altered a little bit in order to fit that sort of middle ground, and I think I did it kind of well. But as usual, I don't go first. I let Mr. Eddie Sparxx go first, and so let's get this shit started with the number 10 Metallica album.
Okay, so you'll probably saw this one coming. I'm not going to beat around the bush. This one for me, I had to put Saint Anger at the bottom. And
okay. I'm sure many people agree with that.
Yeah. And that's not me, like, doing the, like, Saint Anger sucks because, Saint Anger sucks.
Let's let's
listened to
get this all out of the way right now.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and say it for everybody. Let me just run down the list of things. The snare sound on Saint Anger sucks. Lars is not a very good drummer. You can't hear the bass on Injustice for All. Dave Mustaine wrote all the best songs. They haven't been good since Cliff Burton died. They sold out with the Black Album. I live in my mom's basement. All right, so there we go. That's the we got it all out of the way. So let's go ahead and jump into Saint Anger.
Right on. I was wondering how far back you were going to go. It's like, eventually, like getting to, they sold out when they put out an album.
I forgot one. Kirk uses the wah pedal too much.
Okay, now we've got all of the trash talking points out of the way. I'm just going to very carefully explain why Saint Anger is my least favorite.
Okay.
So I feel like, my biggest gripes with this album is that there's a lot of length for what is going on. So
yeah.
My biggest gripe with this album is, for me, I could maybe appreciate the production choices they'd made if they didn't decide to write a bunch of really raw, punky almost stuff, but make it the average length of a Dream Theater song every single fucking time.
Yeah.
So it was like, there was
little to no editing done in the songwriting process.
It's kind of like, man, when I listen to it, I feel, a fatigue that's induced by the sheer fact of, this album could have been so much better if it was maybe half an hour shorter. And it would only take maybe shaving off fucking 2 minutes from each song to make that happen. And, really, it's a repetitive versus length ratio that I'm just not feeling with this one, but I'm going to do my track by track. So, Frantic, I feel like they shot their load really early here because this is my favorite song on the record. I would confidently put this on a greatest hits thinking, they did something different, but this song does kind of rip. Saint Anger, I gotta say, on the other hand, I'm not crazy about the title track, but I do love the part at the end where he goes, set it free!
Yeah, that is great. But it's interesting, though, because each one of those tracks you just said, Frantic and Saint Anger, they both have examples of a kind of silly lyric where in one case I think it works really well and in another case it doesn't. Whereas in Frantic, some people would say my lifestyle determines my death style is kind of dumb, but I really like that lyric. I don't know why it makes me smile. It's just it's so good. But then at the same time, I'm madly in anger with you is really is a little bit like, all right, who the fuck wrote that? That's the one thing is that, in Some Kind of Monster, you see that everybody is writing lyrics, and every time including Phil, and every time there's a lyric that I go, that's kind of dumb, I'm all like, who wrote this? Because it ain't James. I know it's not James. And so I always blame it on somebody else. Let's just blame it on Lars. That's what everybody does anyway.
Okay, I've got here at track number 3, Some Kind of Monster has excellent groove metal potential, but again, it suffers from being 8 fucking minutes long.
Yeah.
When you think of the amount of content that they could put into a song like Master of Puppets, and then stack it up next to stuff off of this album, it really does kind of show that there are definite cracks at the time, that they were staying true to being unique, but at the same time, I feel like they also kind of conformed to a lot of stuff that was happening at the time. No solos. Solos were out of style with the kind of new metal stuff that was going on at the time. And even Kirk says in Some Kind of Monster that he feels like that would date the album. And it has,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like an organic decision. It feels more like the pressures of trying to fit in.
Yeah, I feel like they fucked up in that respect, because I feel like I get what both of them are saying, because sometimes you hear a guitar solo and it feels like they just threw it in because there was supposed to be one. Not they, but bands in general do that. And then in other cases, so I think they should have been like, is a solo appropriate here or not? Nah. Does it work here? Cool, let's keep it. But I guess maybe at the end of the day, they want to make it a cohesive vision, and they're like, let's just do away with them. I mean, at least in this case, Kirk actually played rhythm guitar on the album. So he did. So he is on it. It's not like he's not on it at all because he didn't solo, which is normally every Metallica album except for 3 of them. Kirk only plays the leads and solos, and James does all the rhythms. Just to make it sound tighter. Like, that's where you get that fucking, because James is one of the best rhythm players ever, in my opinion, and so it's a really tight sound. So, but yeah, I really think that maybe they should have met in the middle when it comes to the solo thing. But it is what it is at this point.
For sure, I think they could have made an argument for it being, kind of tasteful. Like, where does it need to be, rather than just completely cutting them out.
Shit, there's a scene in Some Kind of Monster where they're listening to Sweet Amber and you hear a little bit of a solo and it sounds cool. I don't know if you remember that part. Like, it does the Sweet Amber, and then you hear like a, and I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. And then that part is totally removed from the song. And I'm like, well, in that case, maybe they should have kept it, because it sounded pretty cool to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree. Dirty Window. Now, this one,
I love this one.
It does have some fun, riffs. Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite James things ever, because it's completely out of character and it makes me so happy.
It's kind of like he just decided, hey, I'm the fucking Joker now. Like,
he did a fucking grito, which I guess you don't know what a grito is, but I don't know if it was over there, because over here in Tejano style music, you'll hear people do the and it's called a grito, and it's almost like James Hetfield. I don't know if he knew that or not, and he just threw it into the song, and it's. I love it. I would never. I want him to play that song live and do that part, just because it would make me happy.
I know that as well. This is kind of off topic, but have you ever seen that video of them playing "Running with the Devil" live? And he does like a David Lee Roth ad lib wail at one point, and it's shockingly fucking good. I'm surprised he doesn't do those more, because. He's actually good at it. That video is fucking awesome.
If you're listening, James, more funny noises, please.
Hell yeah. But there is one noise in the song I could live without, is the kind of on repeat. Like, that part does kind of drive me a little bit nuts, but I suppose at the same time it's it's one of various reasons this one's at the bottom for me, but I do give this album an annual listen through to see, mainly to unlock memories that I'd perhaps forgotten.
Yeah.
Invisible Kid, this one here is a prime example of way too repetitive for the length.
Absolutely.
Isn't it the same verse throughout?
I believe it is the same thing. Yeah, I don't. I think there may be one different one, and then they repeat the first one, something like that. I don't know. It does seem very repetitive, though.
Yeah, My World has some fun, shouty vocal moments. It's my world. It's my world. It's my world. Sucker! It's so fucking.
See, I like that too. Because that's very out of character for him, and there's a lot of things I feel like he was stepping out of his comfort zone in a lot of ways, and I love hearing it. I don't know.
While we're on the subject of it, because I know we've made this joke a few times throughout the podcast. I gotta give some love to Yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
If people don't know what we're talking about, they did a song with Ja Rule, isn't it?
Well, it never came out, did it? I don't think it ever came out.
It got released.
No
it's
way.
on Spotify. I'm pretty sure.
I gotta
yeah,
go
it's on like a
find it.
mixtape.
So on the disc of bonus material for Some Kind of Monster, they're in the studio while James is in rehab, and they're doing a song with Ja Rule. And I guess they're using some music that they recorded during the Saint Anger sessions, and then Ja Rule's rapping over it. But I guess it's the conclusion of the song, and you hear them recording it was just them going, "Yeah, we did it."
It's fucking incredible.
And it's almost just like they. That's like, how uninspired can you be? It's like, hey, we're gonna do this song with Metallica, and we did it. That's a really good way to end the song. Just say we did it.
Yeah, I think it's on like I can't remember what it is. It's like Swizz Beats, like mixtape or some shit. It's but yeah, it's got Ja Rule on it.
I can't believe I've never actually heard that. I gotta go find it and check it out, and then it'll be my new favorite song. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I can't lie. Oh man, you got Shoot Me Again. I ain't dead yet.
Yep.
Sweet Amber. Now, Sweet Amber has some cool riffage in it.
Yeah.
I gotta give credit where it's due. The Unnamed Feeling. Now, this is the other song on here I would genuinely include in greatest hits, because this one, to me, it does feel very personal for James.
Yeah.
And it's also, in my opinion, I think it is a good song. But, in stark contrast, follow it up with Purify. I did some digging though, and I found, and this is not me being swayed by, public opinion or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I trawled through forums and found a staggering amount of people that think this is hands down the worst Metallica song.
No way.
I shit you not, dude. There are a fuck ton of people in this world that really don't like this one. Even I was surprised to see it's not a song that I go back to often, but the thing is, I didn't expect the sheer quantity of people to chime in. Yeah, Purify is the worst one, and it's like, okay, they all seem like real confident.
That's the one they would pick. I just don't. I don't know. That I feel like they're very boring people if that's the one that they picked as the worst, because at least it's got a lot of good energy, and it's a different sound. I mean, I guess that's the thing with metal fans: don't do anything different. That is bad. Different, bad. Anyway,
Napster bad,
money good,
beer good. Those cartoons are funny as well. Those was it Camp Chaos Metallica?
I don't know.
The part that makes me laugh without fail every time is when Lars is just spouting off a bunch of stuff, and then he's halfway through a sentence and crawls around the entire frame of the video. I'm gonna personally put my foot up your fucking ass.
It is pretty funny.
I'm gonna stick one of these downloads up your ass, one USB at a time.
Speaking of the Napster thing, it is funny to me how just fans of music, it's still a point where everyone's like, they suck for doing that, they're greedy, they suck. But then everyone who's in a band is all now they were right.
Yeah, they were.
So it's so every time I see somebody talk shit, I'm all like, so clearly you hate all the bands you listen to, because you're just like, sure, they may have been, part of it may have been them looking out for their own interests, which if they don't do it, who the fuck's gonna do it? But then at the same time, I don't know. It ended up benefiting in other people in certain ways, and now, 20 years later, or whatever,
Yeah.
all these people in bands are just like, well, yeah, in the hindsight, we would have all sided with them, and they should have.
Yeah. It's kind of it's like one of those frustrating moments in a horror movie, like where only one person sees the demon and no one else believes them, and it's like, I fucking told you guys, But yeah, all within my hands, like closing it out. It does have like cool moments, and no one can take away from that visceral ending of that song, like the girl, like his voice breaking as well, like
another not James Hetfield kind of thing that he did.
Yeah, it's a very dry album as well. Like, there's not a lot of bells and whistles to it. Like, the vocals on it are pretty much as is.
Also, for All Within My Hands, I love the stripped down acoustic version of All Within My Hands. They did it, and
that was really cool.
They did it on like a benefit show thing that's on vinyl, and then they also did it, I believe, on S&M 2. And
S&M 2, yeah.
And I love it. I think I like it better than the actual album version, and I like the album version, but they've gotten really good at repurposing a few of their songs in more of an acoustic way, where if somebody came to me and said, there's an acoustic version of Blackened, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. But then I heard it, I'm like, I really like this. It doesn't destroy the first song. I can still go listen to Blackened, but now I'm like, I love that there's this different take on it, and they did it pretty fucking well. But
that's when re-recording a song is okay, is when you're adding something completely different to it.
Agreed.
Like, because we've said on this podcast many times, we don't like it when, especially in this case, when a band does a greatest hits album but re-records all of the songs.
Yeah.
So it's just like a slightly shittier version, because
it's never as good. There's never been a band covering their own song that was better than the original. I find me an example, and I'll probably say you're wrong.
That's the thing. Like, I remember there's one thing in particular that bugs me. I was on Spotify, and I was listening to a like glam metal playlist on shuffle.
Those bands are the most guilty of doing that shit.
Yeah, and it's like I heard "Rock You Like a Hurricane" come on, and I was like, oh hell yeah! And then like within 2 bars, I was like, oh, it's a re-recording. It's like, well, this is just fucking revisionist history at this point, because we're going back and we're fixing shit that isn't broken.
Well, you have to honestly, in some cases, I don't think they're trying to fix the song. I think that they had shitty record deals, and now they're putting out new versions in order to make money off of it, because they can't get the rights to the original song or whatever. I know that there are some cases where that's why they did it. It doesn't make it good, and they didn't get my money out of it. So I mean, there you go. So are you done with Saint Anger?
That's me wrapping up Saint Anger.
Awesome. I'm not going to talk about Saint Anger right now, because I think it's much better than Eddie does. The album that I have at my number 10 is one that I do see some people talk about as one that they really like, but for many reasons, it's my number 10. Not saying that it's bad at all, because there is no bad Metallica album. Sorry, folks, but there really isn't one. But my least favorite, and the one that I think is the least interesting of the bunch, is Reload. From 1997, was it 97 that one came out, I think?
Yeah.
And honestly, the big reason why this comes in last is because it's the only album they've done where I can listen to it and go, this is more of the same. Now, the songs don't sound exactly the same as Load, but the same vibe is there. It was partially the same recording session. I mean, I know that they did more recording, once they finished up the quote-unquote Load album, but to me it's like you're not getting anything new. There's not really a progression, and then overall the actual collection of songs is stronger on Load than it is on Reload. Not saying there aren't strong songs on Reload, because there are. In fact, I mean, I like all of them, but I do think that There's a lot more areas where I go, this one I could probably not listen to this one today. But that's another one of those weird things where I have to keep things objective because I know that some of these songs actually connect with people because people love like Fixer, and some people love Low Man's Lyric, which to me is kind of boring when it comes to Metallica songs. But
I like it mainly because I know Jim Martin is on it. Which is a cool little anecdote. But yeah.
But what? So just this was actually the album where I initially checked out of Metallica because I wasn't a big fan of Load, even though I grew to like it. And then when Reload came out, I heard it, and I don't even think I bought it originally. Like I heard somebody else's copy, and I went, "Yeah." I wasn't the place I was in my life. I was just like, "This isn't what I want from this band," and so I moved on.
Was this around the time that you were kind of falling out of metal? Because I remember you saying that 96 was the last. Because we did 96 recently. And you said something along the lines of 96 was the last year where you were kind of excited about new things at the time.
Yeah. 97 would have been when I was playing in bands and we were doing more of like the skate punk kind of thing. Street punk would be very different. Skate punk. and along with that, I was listening to a lot of like post-hardcore kind of shit. I was really into like Fugazi and stuff like that. The metal world wasn't doing anything that excited me, although I wanted it to. That's why that period of my life is so depressing, because I wanted heavy music to be exciting, and for the most part, it wasn't. Like you'd hear albums here and there that were cool, but for the most part, I was like, I have to find music somewhere else. And so from around 97 to about 2002 or 3, whenever Leviathan by Mastodon came out, that was kind of like my bringing me back into metal. So there was a good 5 years or so, but yeah, Reload just it's grown on me to where I do appreciate this, especially because I don't think they'll ever go back to making a sound like that again. So the fact that we do have 2 albums of that kind of material, I like that. I like that it's there to listen to. And honestly, on shuffle, if I hear, Blackened followed by The Memory Remains, I kind of go, fuck yeah, man. I mean, because I like the variety. I'm a big fan of variety and bands trying different things. But at the end of the day, because I don't feel the songs are as strong on Reload, and because it isn't some kind of a progression in one way or another from Load, it has to go at the end because it doesn't excite me. And it does feel a little bit like Leftovers with some really strong songs. But I mean, it's still a Metallica album, so it's still fucking amazing to me. But it had to go at the end for me. So that's my number 10.
Well, that's convenient because we're going to do a little piggybacking off of yours, because I'm going to talk about Reload for my number 9. Here's the thing, like, this album has its bangers, but as a whole, I feel like its predecessor had a better killer-filler ratio. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I do agree that it has like the same vibe, but less moments that stand out. So, Fuel is fun, but I definitely feel like, I've always felt like with Fuel, people love it, but I feel like there's a certain, like, there's like a smart bar that I have to lower a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
Because it's not fucking cryptic at all. Even stuff on the Black Album, it was still very cryptic and introspective, but like, I mean, obviously there are some on the nose moments on it, but this one is like right in your face. You know exactly what this is about. It's a song about going fast, and I like a lot of music about just going fast. I'm an 80s fan. All that music is about being really strong and really fucking quick, And the thing is, with that, it feels weird for me to hear this coming from Metallica, like, because I don't know how to describe it. It's because it does sound like they're having fun, but I don't know whether or not it's just the sheer bar that they'd kind of set themselves. So to hear them do something a little bit more caveman, let's just have some fun kind of thing.
I'm with you. Once we get to talking about Load, I'll talk about some of that because I feel exactly the same way. Where you started to hear things where you're like, this seems like a step down, especially lyrically for James Hetfield.
Yeah, it's kind of like he went from like a wise, old weathered sage back to like a teenage boy, and it was kind of like, there are some real moments like that across Load and Reload.
To be honest, though, I have to admit, every time I sing along to that song now, I always sing it as "Gimme dabba jabba za." Like I don't actually say the words because it's so funny to me.
Give me food, give me fries, give me salad on the side.
Yep.
Is another good run.
I saw them play Fuel before. I think before it had a name on the Load tour. I saw them on that tour, and they actually played that song because I remember it really stuck out. I was like, "Oh, this is kind of a cool rockin' kind of number." But then later it showed up on Reload. But I mean, I don't know. It's always been like a really fun song to me, and I don't mind song. If you're gonna mind the lyrics about cars, then how many bands have done that? Like even Megadeth did that early on in the '80s and writing a fucking song about driving a car. But I don't know. It's like that almost seems like a very American thing to do. Is there a big car culture in England, or is that an American thing?
I think the unfortunate thing about British car culture is that you'll get someone.
They're all painted like the Union Jack.
Here's the thing, right? I'm very American in my car taste. You know, I like big and I like cool looking. And the thing is, over here, it's like if they haven't got a Subaru Impreza or a fucking BMW that they've slammed to the ground and given way too much fucking nitrous, you know, for the country lanes that they're about to drive it down, you know. The thing is, I feel over here like I've always been like a fan of muscle cars and things like that. You don't really see much of that over here, but like over here it tends to just be like BMWs and Subarus, and I'm like, I'm kind of bored of seeing these things because like I remember there was like a meetup at the like right next to the store that I work at. And it was literally just a car park full of Subarus. And it wasn't specifically a Subaru meet, but there was the odd BMW. But for me personally, I find American cars much more fun to look at. You know, they have a lot more character. Whereas over here, I do find that it's a lot, for want of a better word, I feel like a lot of them are chavs too. So it's like, that's another symptom of it. Like the worst thing I've ever seen was like a really badly spray painted all black with a giant Monster energy drink sticker on it. And it was a shitty little Vauxhall Corsa, which is like a fucking 2-door hatchback that your mum drives. And it was a disappointing sight, to say the least. I mean, I'm not really like an experienced car guy by any means. I'm not either. Like,
my car experience goes about as far as I like the Fast and Furious movies, and that's it. That's as far as it goes.
For me, it's just like cars that played a prominent role in 80s TV shows. So Trans Ams, Testarossas, Countaches, those sorts of things. But that's pretty much it for me.
So it does seem like a thing where there are a lot of bands that did car songs. I love that we're just on Fuel.
Yeah.
We haven't gone any further.
Here's the thing as well, like the first time I ever heard Memory Remains, I actually thought he was, and bearing in mind, cut me some slack, I was 11.
Yeah.
I thought he was said farting fame, and I was like, ha, He said farting. Like
Farting fame.
yeah. I just thought he was talking about like famous people who were up their own ass, and it was just kind of a play on words at the time. Right? Yeah, it's my cute little kid brain being an idiot, but yeah, good luck on hearing that, by the way.
Yeah. No, I'm sure I'll hear it next time.
But yeah, that riff though, like there's a lot of real bluesy, grunged out Sabbathy ones.
Yeah.
On both Load and Reload, and this is one of them. And then we get Devil's Dance. Now that fucking groove. This is one of my favorites from the Load era. It's so fucking down and dirty. It's awesome. Unforgiven 2. I feel like it's underrated. It's not nearly as good as the first, but
yeah,
it's also nowhere near as bad as some people make it. Plus, I like the use of that B bender guitar.
Yeah, and I've always liked how it's the inverse or whatever of the original song, where the Unforgiven is loud verses and quiet choruses, and this one is quiet verses and loud choruses. I like that, but honestly, the only thing I've ever thought I would like them to change is that I'm okay with it being called The Unforgiven 2, but why did he have to say that in the song? Why does it have to be You're Unforgiven 2? And I'm just like, okay, well, you could have done a different lyric there and just called it Unforgiven 2, and I would have been fine. But I guess in the original song, you do say, he says Unforgiven, so I guess you have to, if you're going to make it Unforgiven, say Unforgiven in it, you know?
I've got to be honest, though, it does sound a little bit more, like, shoved in. It was like...
Yeah.
What's like a clever wordplay we can do? Well, it's the second Unforgiven song. How about we say, how about You're Unforgiven too?
Like,
whoa.
Like also.
Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, You're Unforgiven also.
You're Unforgiven also as well. Just like me, you are unforgiven.
We need to really mine the alternate realities of the Load era.
Yeah. But
Villain of the day.
But I agree that it is kind of underrated. It was underrated by me at first. At first I wasn't into that song, but later on I kind of heard it and went, I think a big thing about both of the Load albums is that there are some guitar parts that you don't really pick up on at first because sometimes they're buried in vocals or whatever. But you listen to like, you know, some chords that are being played or some melodies that are underneath it. And those are the things that reveal themselves later on. And I go, oh, it's kind of cool that they threw that in there. And you don't even know. It's just part of the song. They're not trying to show off any one particular thing aside from the vocals, I guess.
Yeah, they do a good job of like layering things on these albums. Mm. There's a lot more like flavor to the guitars in the left and right too, because one is James and one is Kirk. It feels looser and more vibey as a result. Mm-hmm. Then you get Better Than You, which, you know, fucking rules. I never skipped this one, and it was nominated for a Grammy, wasn't it? Or it did win a Grammy.
Oh, I don't know. Did it?
Yeah, like
that's not the song off this album I would think won a Grammy, but okay.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know if it was even like released as a single. It just got it. It's like the only single in that case that didn't have a video off of these albums. Now you get to Slither. Now this is where things get a little bit hazy for me. There's like a 4-song consistency drop here for me that puts it lower than Load. You know, you got Carpe Diem Baby. It's a moody slow rocker. Bad Seed is a groovy one.
Bad Seed is if I'm thinking of it right, that's the one where the riff I'm always like, this is Enter Sandman. They just played it differently.
Yeah, it's strange. Where the Wild Things Are is cool as well, but
I like that one because it sounds like them trying something new. Just the way that it sounds overall, I'm always like, I like that.
Yeah, I put it here. I find it more memorable because it's weird. It's not a song I revisit outside of a full album listen, but I appreciate that it doesn't sound as like, like it's already happened.
Yeah.
Compared to the previous two. Prince Charming is a fun up-tempo one. Now, Low Man's Lyric, featuring Jim Martin. Is Jim Martin playing the hurdy-gurdy in this?
No, I think somebody else plays the hurdy-gurdy. Let me take a look real quick. Does it actually say?
I don't know. I'm just thinking. Jim Martin is an interesting character. Is what made me think that perhaps.
No, it says David Miles. It says David Miles on the wiki. It doesn't list Jim Martin at all. So
does it not?
No.
That's strange.
I have no idea, but I mean, maybe he's uncredited. But yeah, it says David Miles plays the hurdy-gurdy on Low Man's Lyric.
Okay. He's in there somewhere. Jim Martin has to be. Yeah, I've heard it on Metal Up Your Podcast.
I'm sure he is.
Right on. But yeah, that's it's a cool little moment. But then you get Attitude. Now, Attitude, unlike Fuel, this one just feels like natural to me. But that could be because it's one of the closest things Metallica ever made to an 80s hard rock kind of thing. Like I do get a lot of those. Like, yeah. I could hear the Bullet Boys playing this, I get those kind of like hard as a rock vibes from this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, closing out with Fixer, which is a slow Sabbath-y closer track. This album is cool, but it's even called Reload. It's like it's already happened.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like it's not as much of a 1-2 punch.
I mean, it happened twice on Load. If you talk about there's like the end of each half of Load has a song that's very similar, and then Fixer is very similar to those two songs. So it's fine. It's still good. I mean, I get it, but it is like, okay, we've kind of heard this kind of thing before.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my number 9 with Reload.
Awesome. So that. Obviously, I already talked about that, but we're not even going to be crisscrossing here, because this was the one place I think that I really did the most thinking about where I wanted to put things, and after having a little bit of time with this album, I think I've figured it out, and so my number 9 is Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Number 9,
which is the most recent album that they've done. Now, like, don't get me wrong, like, I love this album. It's great. Now, in a little bit of a contrast between it and Death Magnetic, this one had to grow on me a little bit. Some of the songs did. Whereas Death Magnetic, we'll get to that one later. That's one that immediately I was all about. But I even remember, like, when they were premiering the songs, like, first they premiered Hardwired, that's the song Hardwired, and I remember thinking, this is cool, but not amazing. Like, I like the energy, and it's fun, but it's not amazing. And it wasn't until they released the Moth into Flame video that I went, oh shit, this is good. This is good songwriting. It sounds like it could fit in between Justice and the Black Album, I guess, and I just think it's great. So the reason why I ended up putting this album at number 9, and part of this came from something that Howard H. Smith from Acid Rain said to me about it, because I'm a big Metallica fan, and so is he, but I think he's very critical of them in some respects, more so than I am. And a thing that he brought up that I went, you're fucking right, was he said that this is the Metallica album where there's a whole bunch of parts that sound like other bands. Like, this is the Black Sabbath part. This is this is the Merciful Fate part, or whatever, And when I listen to it, I go, that's what it is. It's got these parts where I go, it's the first Metallica album where I go, this sounds like this other band, or this sounds like another part. Because even though everyone went on Load, like they just want to be like grunge or something, it still doesn't sound like other bands in 1996.
Yeah.
But this one has moments where I go, yeah, it's not as special because it reminds me of another band and not Metallica. But on top of that, though, it has a few songs that I wish were better. Murder One is not that great of a song, and I wish that it was better because it's a Lemmy tribute song. Same thing goes for like Here Comes Revenge. There are some songs that just feel like that could be better. They could have done better with that. But there are some fabulous songs, and there are even some songs that I think overall are just pretty good, but then have amazing moments in it. Like one of my favorite moments in the album, and you could say this is a very not Metallica moment too, is in the song. I'm spacing on names right now. Motherfucker. It's not called Motherfucker. It is called Am I Savage? Am I Savage is just yes, that like it's one of the heaviest riffs I think they've ever written. And every time that pops up, I'm just like, it gives me goosebumps. I'm like, that's so fucking good. And even if it does seem a little out of character, like it's not the kind of riff Metallica would have written, it doesn't immediately make me think of some other band. It just makes me go, ooh, that was unexpected. And so there's basically all those things I said. It's a collection of those where I think a song is really good. I think a song is just okay, or a song is good, but has moments that I think are great. But overall, like I look at these and when it comes to Metallica, the fucking shit that they had made, you're weighing all of that against some of these tracks. And I go, Confusion doesn't really stand up when you put it next to Master of Puppets. If you put those two together, the scale is just held down into the ground by the weight of Master of Puppets, and Confusion has just flown off into the sunset. But, there are songs I love. Like I said, I love Moth into Flame. I think Atlas Rise is great. I think Halo on Fire is fucking great. And of course, I think everybody across the board thinks that Spit Out the Bone is great because it fucking is.
That seems to be a pretty universally loved track.
Yeah.
Like right across the board.
So even though this is number 9, I do have to admit that I like it more now than I did when it came out. The things that I didn't like as much have grown onto me to where now I feel it fits in more with Metallica in the way that I just love hearing them play shit. And so the songs that I didn't like as much, I now just enjoy them for what they are. But I really do think that as an album, it's not as strong as Death Magnetic, and so because of that, it had to be knocked down a notch. I mean, you could probably say that if we'll get to the production on Death Magnetic, but I guess if you're comparing the two, this one in certain ways sounds better. Although I don't really like the snare sound on this album. It's a little there's too much. There's not enough bottom end on the snare. Because if you listen to the snare on like the Black Album, like that fucker is thick. This one is a little more like it gets, especially because Lars uses the snare so much. Like he doesn't do a lot of tom stuff. Occasionally he does, but it's usually some sort of roll on the snare or something. And so when you hear the snare so much, you're like, it's can they add a little bit more thickness to it a little or something? But that could also be my old man ears, I guess. And I like things to have a little more low end to them. But yeah, it's a great album. Like I still, when it came out, it was still my favorite album of the year because it's fucking Metallica. But I really do hope that when they come back with another album, it's a little more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Like I want them to shave off the edges a little bit more. I don't want it to just feel like a collection of songs. I want it to feel like an album. And this one doesn't really feel that much like an album. It's just a collection of amazing to good songs. And so that's why it's my number 9.
I think how I never ever heard it as them sounding like other bands. I did, however, get a big vibe of they've kind of cherry picked moments from their career.
That
so
too.
It was like, yeah, that's more of what I picked up on. I was like, Dream No More is fucking sick, but it could definitely fit in with like Load era.
Yeah.
And then you'd get like Spit Out the Bone, which is like that could have easily been on Justice. And you've got all of these different like moments that I suppose you would think, fuck yeah, like a hybrid Metallica album of everything they ever did. Hell yeah, but it also does make it creates a consistency issue where you get honed in on one vibe and then another vibe comes along and kind of clashes a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, and then in some cases, because I saw them on the tour for this album, and I'm not a really big fan of Now That We're Dead, but when they played it live, they did that thing where they split off to the drums. They're each playing a drum. And I was like, that's fucking fun, man. Like that show was so much fun because of all of the elements. Because it wasn't the kind of show they did for the movie for Through the Never.
Yeah.
But they did the same kind of thing where songs would occasionally have a different vibe going on. Like when they did Moth into Flame, they had these weird light up. What do you call those? The drones. They were like light up drones that flew around in a pattern above them, and I was like, that's fucking cool. And it's almost like they've become so good at knowing how to give you your money's worth out of a show.
For sure.
Sure, you're gonna get, songs you love, and in my case, some songs that I wish that they wouldn't play all the time. Like I don't really want to hear Enter Sandman live again. But I know they have to play it. I don't fault them for playing it because every show is somebody's first Metallica show, and I would not want that person to show up and not hear Enter Sandman because it's their most famous song, really. But yeah, some songs like translated really well to the live format, and so I mean I don't know. Once again, it's just me. I feel like I'm backtracking because I do like things about this album because I do. But we're getting on to albums that I have a lot more nice things to say about after this.
Well, I actually got this T-shirt from the Twickenham stadium gig that they did.
Oh, okay.
And I remember going because it was my first ever Metallica show, 2019, which happened, months before, all the COVID shit took off.
Yeah.
Which I'm very thankful that I got to see Metallica before all this shit happened. But like the biggest thing I remember, because I was actually like way up in like the seated area, I was actually looking down on like the whole thing, which I'm actually thankful for, because some people will say, oh, you were in a seated thing, you didn't get the full energy. It's like, I was still there. Fuck off.
I was in a seat, and honestly, you look down at the people in the standing area, and there's no mosh pit.
No.
If there is, it's really little. It's a bunch of people with their fists in the air, and it's old people. So it's like, give me a seat so I can sit down when Jim Brewer's up there talking before their show. I don't know if he was the opener at your show, but the opener was Jim Brewer doing comedy, which was okay.
Well, ours was, we had Bokassa, and then Ghost, and then Metallica came on.
Oh, okay.
But like one of the biggest things that sticks out in my memory of it, just cycling back to Moth into Flame. I've got plenty to say about Moth into Flame when we get to it, but I wanted to say this soon as we're on the topic. What really stood out to me is when they played Moth into Flame, did they have, for yours, the giant flame that shoots back and forth across the stage?
No, they didn't have that.
We had ours had like this pyro fucking thing that shot this massive
Did they
flame
also have the drone things or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
They had the drone things, and they also had these big-ass pyro towers that shot giant flames out of them.
Yeah, they had pyro during the show, but I don't remember one during Moth into Flame. I think it was just the drones.
Yeah, there was this like line of it was like just a giant Zippo lighter that would just go like sweep across the stage, and there was a point where Kirk was being chased by it, and I thought, oh fuck, am I about to see him get like incinerated? But the thing that stood out to me the most is throughout that entire display, James was way out in the front next to the snake pit the entire fucking time. Yeah, well, he's been set on fire before, so I was thinking this whole time, I kind of whispered to my girlfriend who was with me, I was like, You want to know why James is so far away from the stage right now?
Because he doesn't want the song to be James into the flame.
Yeah. He's like, been there, done that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so my number 8 is Death Magnetic.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I've placed this one here based largely on the production paired with the length of the darn thing. And it's unfortunate because I seriously love some songs on here, but
yeah.
it's the, again, like I mentioned last time, that kind of clippy, like brick-walled to shit, zero dynamic range. It's just like very straight the entire time. There's like no air to breathe.
I have to say something about that since it's been brought up. I've been thinking about that because when the album first came out, I clearly heard what you're talking about. When I heard the first track they released, when I heard The Day That Never Comes, I was like, why is it clipping in part of the song? And then the album came out. I bought the album the day it came out, and you could hear it. Like, I remember I played it a lot in my car stereo because I was driving around a lot. And I remember hearing that, go, that's an odd, did they not know that it was doing that? That's really weird. But literally, that's as far as my thoughts went about the sound of the album. And I was like, well, why? Why is it that I don't really care that much? I mean, probably because the songs to me were so exciting. But also,
that's the thing.
I feel like, and I say I mean, music fans in general, I think we've become very spoiled with modern technology. Because there are plenty of classic albums with huge recording flaws from back in the day, and nobody says shit about it. And so I'm just like, get over yourself. It doesn't, it's just like, not every album needs to be the most amazingly recorded album you've ever heard. Because honestly, shit that people think is well recorded sometimes to me sounds sterile and boring.
I would take like a flawed but with personality recording over a completely sterilized, sanitized, like nothing wrong with it mix any day of the week.
Yeah,
like,
but on the same token, I can understand people's gripes about this. I'm stuck in the middle because I'll hear somebody say that and I'll go, yeah, it could have been better. Do I care? No. The album is what it is, and to me, I think I've said this every time I've talked about Death Magnetic. To me, that became a character in the album where it almost felt like, because to me, this was the album where I was so excited that I was like, Metallica is back, motherfucker. And I wanted to tell everybody. I played songs for this album to so many of my friends. And that vibe with that flaw in the album always made it feel like my car stereo speakers could not contain this music. So it was crackling. Yeah. And so I've always been like, I like that. I'm sure it wasn't intentional, and would I enjoy a better mixed version? Sure, but I wouldn't change it. I like it as it is.
Well, that's the thing I was gonna drive at here is I'm gonna say a lot of very positive things about the songs because with regards to songwriting, the jump in quality from Saint Anger to this is fucking astonishing.
Yeah,
it's simply the fact of, you know, when I get to All Nightmare Long, I'm thinking, you know, that's the thing with regards to the production. I do experience like that the mid to late album fatigue, even on like the good songs, because I'm thinking, fuck, you know, I want to listen to the rest, but I am tired. You know, it's you know. It's kind of like this album is running a marathon and sprinting the entire fucking time, you know, because it's like, yeah, the songwriting is awesome, but it's just the sheer fact that everything is up to 10 and never ever comes down.
Yeah,
there's like even in the slow parts in Day That Never Comes, the fucking snare is still clipping.
Yeah,
so
it's still
like,
loud.
and it's like, could you not turn that down a little bit? Like, damn.
But to be fair, we've talked about this before. Rick Rubin produced a lot of albums with that problem, and
yeah.
I mean, there's a Slayer album I can think of that has that problem. There's a System of a Down album. There's a lot of albums with Rick Rubin's name on it that clip all to fuck the whole time.
Californication.
Oh, it's a horrible one.
Yeah,
man. But it's weird because he's done some really amazing sounding shit, and then stuff like this where I go, I don't know whose fault. I don't know who to blame. Like, do I blame the guy that was the engineer? Do I blame Rick Rubin? Like, who made that choice? But at the end of the day, I'm glad it doesn't bother me that much because this is the most I've thought about it in years.
That's the thing as well. Like, when I first heard this, I was like, I was reassured because I was 12 years old. I got this album on my 12th birthday,
nice.
And I heard it, and I'd heard all of the other Metallica albums pretty much at that point, and I was like, okay, so Saint Anger was kind of. It's at the time I wasn't thinking it was bad. It was just like not what I wanted to hear from Metallica compared to like, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, Justice, the Black Album, Kill 'Em All. But then when I heard this, I was like, this is the closest to that stuff that I've heard, since, at least 88, 91, around that, and then especially coming in with That Was Just Your Life. Like, god damn, what an opener. Easily one of my top 5 modern Metallica tracks.
Also, like the one thing that I also remember when I first heard this album, I was like, man, James sounds like he de-aged about 10 years on this album. Like, he sounds amazing on this.
I think that's just his health showing as well, because like if you remember, he was like really thin around this time too. Like he'd clearly been behaving himself in the realms of staying sober and whatnot. He was, as far as we know, doing something. Yeah, well that's the thing, especially talking like 2008 after the 75-minute therapy session that is Saint Anger, they had to kind of come back swinging in better shape. Mm-hmm. So, End of the Line, it's got some cool riffage on it. Broken Beat and Scarred. Now, this one has some cool riffs again, but I love how blatantly grammatically incorrect it is, but it doesn't care. Yeah. It doesn't give a fuck. Like, absolutely. It's so... It almost feels like when like ripped dudes are like, you don't need brains when you got this, and it's like, and that line, what don't kill you make you more strong, and it's like, obviously it's like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but it's like,
I love it. It's great. I don't know why it feels brutal. It feels absolutely perfect for the song.
That's the thing, like, there's certain caveman qualities to Metallica every now and again that I'll think, that's so fucking primal that speaks to you.
That's the thing. The best Metallica to me is always, like, Hetfield, he's a really good lyric writer because he does wordplay where he sometimes, especially in the 80s, he would use words that most people didn't use. Like, if I remember right, there's a what fucking song is it? On Justice for All. Is it The Shortest Straw where he says vertigo it doth bring? He uses the word doth. And like, who the fuck uses the word doth, man? I sound like Lars. But he would do that, but at the same time he would have these lines that were so on the nose badass metal at the same time. Like, he found this weird middle ground between doing these really great well-written lyrics, and then you take a song like End of the Line. I don't know why I always just love it's so just the way that it goes along with the beat with the you've reached the end of the line. Every time that happens, I'm like, that's so good. But it's not as poetic as some other things that he's written. But I like that. I want that in my metal. I want some fist in the air kind of shit sometimes.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like Kill 'Em All era James never went away. He just became a little bit reclusive. So every now and again, you'll get these like if you look at the lyrics on Kill 'Em All, some of them are like very I am metal and I am fucking rad because of it, you know. And then very very quickly they shed that and went down like the, you know, full on Dungeons and Dragons, you know, kind of stuff. And, you know, politics and war and all other things. But the sophistication matched with the understanding that it also needs to be brutal at the same time has always made their vibe stand out, I think. Because you've got some bands that stick to one of them and goes really fancy and really conceptual. And then you've got the other ones that are like, we have this thing, we like going fast and drinking fucking beer, and we're not going to evolve past it because we're too fucking good at it, you know. But like I've never got that vibe from them, even though that they have the capacity to do both extremely well. Like, for example, you got Day That Never Comes. Now I've actually got kind of a funny story about Day That Never Comes.
All right.
So my cousin, who has, you know, some extended family in New Zealand, they would go over there pretty regularly. And there was a wedding one time, and said people getting married were big Metallica fans. And they had The Day That Never Comes, the intro to that, play as they walked down the aisle.
Yeah.
But they didn't turn it off in time, and it literally went "Born to Push You Around" and then just stopped it.
Yeah, because that's not a love song.
No, but they liked the intro, but then forgot to like turn it off before the lyrics happened. And like I remember my cousin said he cracked up, but me and my cousin got some good music memories together. riding the bus into school, listening to fucking Ugly Kid Joe and whatnot. But yeah, awesome times. But yeah, Day That Never Comes definitely feels like a hybrid of Fade to Black and One. Like so, it's got it's got like Fade to Black and One are kind of structured similarly, but have different vibes. This kind of feels like both at the same time. But then this one here is my favorite track on the album, All Nightmare Long. Yeah. Favorite song on this album. I used to fantasize about playing this in a band on the stage at my high school. My school was totally fucking lame when it came to talent shows and shit. So they'd be like, no metal, none of that, no. Yeah. And it was like, oh, fuck off. Like, and you would get I think the worst part about it is that there were like 3 13-year-old girls that got up on stage. Like, they would pretty much let 13-year-old girls lip sync to WAP, but they wouldn't let me play a Metallica song. Like, that's the sort of shit that they would pull. And it was like, you would really rather have this represent the school than this.
I'm gonna call you out here. That is the most boomer you've ever sounded.
Yeah.
They let them do WAP, but they don't let them do metal.
Yeah, I stand by my boomerisms on this one.
Was legit. That was legit old man vibes right there.
Gosh darn kids these days.
Because that's literally the arguments that you hear nowadays. Like, why is WAP okay, but we can't have metal? I'm like, you can have metal. There's just not good metal bands now. There's a few, but let's not talk about that anyway. But yeah, All Nightmare Long, to just to blow a little bit of my load on before talking about this album, which I'm not talking about yet.
You go for it.
This is the one, like, there were so many tracks in this album when I first listened to it all the way through that I was just so excited about and so happy with. But there's a moment in All Nightmare Long that I started tearing up and laughing while crying while it was happening. And it's that middle part where it builds up and then it goes to that riff where it goes, and it does a little quick, like the tempo goes weird for a second, or the timing goes weird. That whole period of the song, I just remember I was like, this is like, because I immediately felt like how I felt back in the day listening to Metallica, and I was like, oh my God, it's like, there's so few times in your life that you really get to feel something again. And that was a moment of me immediately, that was me shifting right back into being a huge Metallica fan, because I was already back on board with them, and I had always been somewhat of a fan and interested in what they were doing. But that was the moment where I was just like, that's it. That's it. This is the feeling, and they are the only band that gives me this exact feeling. And so this is a song that I just, on to also the music video for this song is fucking badass.
Yeah.
And I've never been able to find information on who did it, because I don't know if the animation is something that already existed or if it was done specifically for it, but it is so cool. And I don't hear anybody talk about that video, but it is so fucking cool. And I know little to nothing about it, like where it came from or who did it.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch it because I haven't seen it in like years. But like
It's
the
so
part
cool.
the part in this song that really gives me the goosebumps every time. I'll be honest, despite my issues with the production, there's a lot of goosebump inducing awesomeness on here.
Yeah.
And That Was Just Your Life has done it for me in the past.
Uh-huh.
The ending to Day That Never Comes has done it for me in the past.
Yeah.
The biggest one on here, hell, even the Judas Kiss has done it for me in the past, but All Nightmare Long, consistently, without fail, the part after the solo with the
Oh, yeah.
Like that always struck
also
me
we got to
as
give
so
some
majestic.
props. Since we were talking about badass metal moments, how can you not smile when you hear "But your luck runs out"? Like how, just that delivery. I love when James Hetfield becomes full on, like he's being the most James Hetfield he can possibly be.
Yeah.
He's just like, it's like, I'm James Hetfield, but I'm going to sing it like quote unquote James Hetfield now.
Yeah.
So I love that kind of shit.
It's almost like he's assumed his final form. And
Yeah.
Let's.
That is Voltron coming together finally. That is a dated reference. I mean, the Power Rangers.
I would pay good money to hear them cover the fucking Power Rangers theme. Go, go, Power Rangers! That'd be sick. Cyanide. Now, this one had to grow on me, but it is catchy. Like, it's definitely one of those sing-along ones.
Have you ever read or noticed that the intro to the song is the Morse code for SOS?
No, actually, but I totally hear it. Holy shit.
It's SOS at the beginning of the song.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
A little bit of Morse code in there.
Hell yeah. It's a good song.
It's funny you should mention Morse code. I'm going to unleash a little bit of music knowledge onto the world.
Oh, shit.
Morse code, right, is great for coming up with interesting drum fills. Like, you just, like, type out a word, have it translated into Morse code, and then just, like...
Copy and paste it into
yeah,
the drum loop.
Literally. Yeah. It's such a useful tool.
That is a cool idea.
Yeah, I remember we were taught to, like... type out our names in Morse code, and like it was like a college experiment that we did one lesson, and we were like, hey, let's make like drum beats using our names in Morse code. And I'll have to find it because my particular drum fill was like, we put it to like an EDM kind of thing, and we turned it into like an almost the Mortal Kombat theme kind of thing. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I've still got it somewhere. I'll upload it at some point.
I'm interested. I'm going to go look that up and see if I can find what my name is in Morse code. That's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. Oh man. At least on Unforgiven 3, he
doesn't say Unforgiven 3. Does he say Unforgiven in the song? He does.
Actually.
I think he does at some point, but I don't think it's not in the chorus.
It's a lot more subtle and understated.
Yeah.
It's pretty unique actually. This one, like the first two share a lot of similarities. This one, I mean, it has a similar structure to the first Unforgiven, but aside from that, you know, there's a lot more orchestra stuff and strings and pianos in it. Is this the first time a piano has showed up on a Metallica album? The one and only time, actually.
There's got to be one on load somewhere.
Yeah?
I don't know. It may be the first time.
It's the only one I can think where it's prominent, like right at the start.
Yeah.
But Judas Kiss, thrash perfection on that one.
So Judas Kiss is my favorite because it has, maybe in somebody's estimation, too many solos. But I love that every time you think, oh, Kirk's done with this. Nope. It's like another section of the song will happen, and then another solo will happen. And every time I hear the song, I'm just like, this is so great. It's like making up for the past. Just like, Kirk, you want to do 4 solos on this song? Yeah, have at it, buddy. And they're all cool. Like, I love his solos. Like, even though I think he's gotten a little bit too bluesy and he's gotten a little bit, he relies too much on kind of the bluesy aspect. But I still love his solos and yeah. I love there's so many solos in this song.
Oh, man. Suicide and Redemption. Now, this one here is my least favorite of their instrumentals. Yeah. It's cool, but of all their instrumentals, I feel like it's been done. Like, there's good parts, but it of all of them, it feels the most predictable. It's still got that really cool melody in it, but
I feel like that also could have been done better. But I don't know. Honestly, like if I had to pick a song to remove from this album, it's a tie between this one and Unforgiven 3 because I think both are kind of like they're good songs, but they don't hold up to everything else on the album, in my opinion.
Yeah, but. You know, closing this one out, we got My Apocalypse.
Oh, fucking A, man.
Which is another just full-on thrasher. Like, hang on a minute. I'm going to have a quick look. How much of this album is just straight-up thrash? That Was Just Your Life.
If you're talking to Metallica haters, there's no thrash on this album, apparently.
They're talking out of their ass, because there are some...
Well, we would never know that there was thrash because I can't listen to it because the production's so bad, man.
I refuse to open my mind to anything that isn't my subjective view of reality.
Not Death Magnetic. He says Death Magnetic in the song My Apocalypse, but My Apocalypse was the one song that I would play for all of my old friends who used to be into Metallica when this came out, and I'm like, just listen to this song. And without fail, when you get to the part, to the spit it out with the and it goes into the solo, I would always just look at my friends and they would all just be like, fuck. And I'm like, yes, yeah, I know, right? I know.
Oh man, it's awesome. And you see, that's the thing. We're only on, my 8th favorite one, and I'm saying really positive stuff about it. You know, there's a reason this band is the size that they are, and people like to jump on the bandwagon because it's popular to hate them. But you know why it's popular to hate them? Because they're fucking good at what they do, and they made a really successful career out of it.
Well, I really do think that the popularity of this band is also part of what drives people to hate them, because that just seems seems like in some people that's part of their nature. If something's really popular, you're supposed to not like it, I guess, and which has always been really weird because it's always like, I really love this band. Hopefully they're not successful. Otherwise, I'm going to have to hate them.
I saw a really funny one just like that. It was to do with the new Gojira album, which I have listened to, and it's fucking good.
I heard it too. It's really good.
Yeah, I saw though that they're on like the front covers of a bunch of magazines right now,
as they should be.
And I went down into the comments, and there was one guy. It was like, oh, great, this is the beginning of the end. And it was like, someone replied to him and they were like, the fuck are you talking about? It was like, yeah, this always happens when the mainstream picks up on a band, it's the end. And it's like
it's just literally like saying, I don't want this band to have a career.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to have jobs when they go home, and I don't want them to write music. That's the fucking stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It's a completely defeatist mindset, isn't it? Like when you step back
I shit you not, it's usually from people who have never played in a band one day or written a song or probably done anything where they had to put themselves out there in front of people. And so fuck those people.
We're going to go ahead and add getting laid to that list of things they don't do.
I don't know. They got cousins.
That was a good slam dunk. I'm gonna let you take the reins here.
Are we done with
number 8?
My number 8. My number 8 is Saint Anger.
Hey.
I don't hate this album at all. And honestly, the first time I heard a song from it, the snare was the least of the things that bothered me about it. Like, I was just like, oh, that's an interesting sound. Because other bands have recorded songs where they turned off the snare and recorded the drum like that. This wasn't the only album that's ever done that before. And maybe it's turned up loud enough to where the ring is, especially in certain parts of the album, it's not really that bad. Other parts, it's pretty loud. But when I heard it, my brain immediately went to, oh, it almost has like an industrial vibe to it a little bit with the way the drums sound. But my problem was the first song I heard off of it was Saint Anger, and I was just like, okay, I'm glad they're fast, but the song is just not. It could be a lot better. Like, I would expect a lot more from this band. So originally, I didn't get into this album at all because I just thought, okay, well, they're playing aggressive music, but I'm not. It just seems like the songwriting's not there. So maybe this band's done. Maybe they're done. I don't know. But I still listened to it, and there were parts I liked, parts I didn't like. But this was around the time that I wasn't really listening to metal or Metallica that much. But I even still went to go see Some Kind of Monster in the movie theater. They actually played it in the theater, and I fucking loved it. And it made me go back and listen to the album again. And it took several listens for me to really start to go, you know what? I like that this doesn't sound like the other Metallica albums. And it's almost like there's more to talk about with Saint Anger than there is with Master of Puppets. Because with Master of Puppets, they had already kind of established what they were trying to do with Ride the Lightning. They just did it better with Master of Puppets. And you could go into like how amazing the songwriting is and stuff, and that's great. But with Saint Anger, there's a story surrounding the album, and then there's the questions of the choices made when recording the album. And to me, it makes it more enjoyable because it's not just here's another Metallica album that sounds like one that you've already heard before. I think at that point in their career they couldn't do that. I don't think it would have gone over very well. I think it probably still would have been successful, but I feel like it's almost like this is a palate cleanser or something. It's almost like they're just blowing everything out, you know, and to me, it's got an energy to it that it almost makes it the most challenging Metallica album to listen to, which is what metal is known for a lot. Like, nobody goes into listening to a Cannibal Corpse album expecting for it to be a time when you relax and you're able to just put it on in the background. And not to compare this to Cannibal Corpse, but it's actually like when it comes to that aspect of metal, it's like a confrontational album where it's literally like an audio equivalent of them just saying fuck you to everybody at the same time. And I don't know. It's really interesting to listen to now. So I agree with your criticisms about the songs being too long. They could have shaved them down a little bit. Like I said, they could have met in the middle, had some leads or solos here and there. and it would have made it a little bit more interesting because there are some songs that do get a little bit daunting, I guess. But the moments I like are the moments that are the most not normal Metallica. Like Frantic's a great song, but I love Dirty Window and I love Purify. And I love just hearing the moments where they were trying something else. And even if part of the intent was to fit in a little more with what was going on with metal at the time, I mean, they had already done that anyway. Like there are elements of, they were influenced by other bands every step of the way, even if they took it and made it into their own unique thing. And I think that Saint Anger is that. It doesn't sound like Korn or Slipknot or whatever. It doesn't sound like those bands. So it's to say that it's like there is no such thing as a band that doesn't get inspired by the music that's happening around them. That's just inevitable. Or
that just happens.
You make boring ass music because you cut yourself off from everything. Like that's the thing is, as much as I'll say I'm not into newer metal stuff or newer music in general, it's few and far between new stuff that I get really excited about. But I still like to hear all of these things because I feel like hearing something that doesn't connect with me or has some elements that I think are cool, but it isn't good enough. All of those things, for some reason, I feel like they all inform who I am as a music fan. And some of that stuff will end up in songs that I write. Some of it will be applied to older shit that I like. Like now that I have this context of other shit, it actually makes me enjoy things from the past more and maybe even in a different way. And so all of those things, like I said before, the missteps that Metallica made them more of my favorite band because it made their story more interesting. It actually made me relate to them a lot more because I already from around the time of the Black Album wanted to hang out with the dudes because I thought they seemed super cool. But then eventually it's almost like if you've remained a fan, which even though I wasn't really that engaged for a few years, I still kept up with everything they were doing. You feel like you know them a little bit, and I don't. Bands that I love, their personalities are just as important to me. Maybe not just as important, but they are very important along with the music. That's why, like, unfortunately, I am one of those people that if a member of the band comes out as a pedophile or a racist, I'll just be like, sorry guys, bye. Because I mean, that's my choice. And so, but I don't know. The personalities of the band is important to me, and I think that Saint Anger, like, I feel like you're hearing a really honest part of who they were at the time and what they were going through. And how many metal bands have done that? How many metal bands have made an album like that, where it's personal and is a snapshot of what was happening with them at the time? Like, that you could feel it. It's like it's a visceral experience, and I really enjoy it. Even with all of its flaws, it just makes the Metallica story so much more interesting. Honestly, I think that it makes Death Magnetic an even better album because you hear where they went to get to that, and then I loved that album so much, and still love that album so much. But the more that I listen to Saint Anger, when a song just pops up randomly, I'm always just like, I'm not turning this off. This is, the energy is there, the aggression is there. A lot of times the fun that I experienced with Metallica is also there. Sometimes the lyrics are a little bit kind of woe is me kind of shit, but that sometimes, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to talk to anybody that's never gone through anything difficult emotionally. Like I have nothing to talk to you about. If your life has been all, roses and puppy dogs, and the toughest thing that you've had to deal with is maybe getting a cold now and then. Like I can't relate to you. Like, it's same thing goes with my bands. Like I don't just give me one thing over and over and over again. And Metallica have never done that. And there's no better example of them not giving you the same thing than Saint Anger. And because of that, I had to put it here at number 8. There's no way this album would be last for me because there's just too many things about it that make it unique and interesting. And it shouldn't be hated on as much as it is, because I feel like all of the gripes are only because it's Metallica and they're the biggest metal band in the world or whatever. A lot of people have said it. If a different band's name was on this album, sure, we may not even be talking about it, but people would definitely probably not be talking shit about it, you know? So there we go. My number 8, Saint Anger.
That's the thing I've seen some people say as well. Had it been from another band, like a new up and coming band, it probably would have been well received considering, the music of the day.
Or maybe it would have been ignored. It would have fallen in with a ton of other bands around the time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think as well, I just wanted to mention, cycling back, how we were saying how kind of people will turn around and say Metallica are like overrated and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, here's my stance. I don't know if I've said it before on the podcast, but I am of the opinion, do I think Metallica are overrated? No. Do I think a shit ton of great metal is underrated? 100%.
Agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's not so much Metallica that gets too much attention. It's all these other great ones don't get enough.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
Yeah. So speaking about an album that caught a lot of attention, my number 7 is Load.
Wow. I expected this one to be higher, but okay.
My thing is, I've kind of gone with a sandwich kind of situation here with Reload, Death Magnetic, and then Load.
Uh-huh.
And I think had Death Magnetic been produced better, it might have sat above Load. But, man, I could not deny at the same time the strength of what is actually on Load.
Uh-huh.
And this is one of the key albums that comes to mind when I kind of mention that era of the Grower album, which I like to call the mid-90s, which there is a lot of albums like that.
Yeah, totally.
Slap bang in the middle of that decade. But you got Ain't My Bitch is a catchy, fun opener, and it's kind of like a mission statement of, yeah, we're still like, gonna play hard rocking stuff, but it's more on the rock realm as much as it is on the metal zone, 2x4 is an underrated groovy song.
Yeah.
House That Jack Built, some major Alice in Chains vibes on this one, and I love like all the scary extra like overdubs and psychedelic shit going on.
Also, that's one of the examples on this album of underrated songwriting appreciation. Like there are so many moments on Load, especially, where as a songwriter I listen to it and I go, man, it's such an interesting choice. Like the chorus of the song, the juxtaposition between the holding out the individual chords of what they're playing on guitar, and then over that it's the you are the father you fall, but it's all over like a 4/4. But it's just the combination of those rhythms. It just makes that part so interesting, and I'm like, that is them just having fucking cool ideas, and they're cool ideas that I guess, because it wasn't a metal part, people don't really still don't like it. It doesn't matter how good it is if it ain't metal. But I love that shit.
Well, that's the thing as well. Like it's still heavy, but in a more of a moody sense than an in your face kind of thing that the first 5 albums had. This one's much more. I mean, they've embraced a lot of alternative elements as well. Especially on songs like Until It Sleeps, which, shows off that they're really experimenting at this point, because really, I'd feel hesitant to even call Until It Sleeps a metal song. It's much more of like
No,
a.
no.
I feel like that's actually doing it a disservice. You know, it stands out as a classic alternative rock thing, if anything.
I don't know if I'd even go
King,
alternative. I just say it's just a rock song, really. It's just,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, King Nothing. Like here is where we get into like a meaty section of catchy stuff. You know, King Nothing, delightfully groovy, and it, you know, especially with like the Often Never Neverland at
Yeah.
the end, like
Yeah.
little reference. This one does feel like Enter Sandman's chunkier younger brother, but I love it. Like, I would, I would still put both songs in the same kind of zone for how much I like them because I love them,
I wonder if
but for
that's why
different.
I wonder if that's why the lyrics became what they became, because it does have a similar vibe. So because it's a lot about like
Yeah,
making it big. Is that what you really wanted, kind of thing?
yeah. Be careful what you wish for, kind of vibes.
Exactly. I mean, he says that in the fucking
Yeah,
song.
yeah. Hero of the Day, like
Oh
major
yeah,
key.
another
Fuck
amazingly
yeah,
well written song. Yeah.
for sure. Like, and I remember I was at my my uncle every year. He throws this like for his birthday. This isn't the same uncle, by the way. It's another uncle. I have a lot of uncles. This is Uncle Phil. He throws pre-COVID, obviously. I don't know the future of it right now, but every time his birthday happens, every year he throws an ale festival in his back garden, and he has like a bunch of people from like all over, like the county, just like friends and stuff to like show off their brewery's ales and stuff. I get
Yeah.
fucking wasted every single time without fail,
That
and it's
sounds fun.
great. But his son Rob is in control of all of like the playlists and stuff. So there is a lot of like 90s rock in there, and it kicks ass being at this like backyard party with all these other drunk Generation X people yelling to Hero of the Day, and it's just like one of
That's
these magic moments.
that just
Yeah.
reminds me of being young, like especially when I was in like probably late junior high, early high school. Like people would be throwing a party, and I would always be like, "Do you have anybody doing the music?" Because I
Yeah.
would always put together like mixtapes or later mixed CDs just for the party, and I was so big on like ordering things in a sequence that would make sense at a party, and like I
Yeah.
had so much fun fucking doing that. I almost just want to throw parties just to do that, just to play music.
Totally.
Like
I'm
everybody
with you
comes
on
over to
that
my
one.
party, and I'm just like, leave me alone, I'm busy.
Yeah. Oh man. It again, like I say though, just keeping on Hero of the Day for a moment. They'd done a few things in a major key before, but this was the first time where it's like the most prominent, and it actually sounds like even, you know, regarding whether or not the lyrical themes are, it does like have a happy, it has a happy vibe to it.
What part? Well,
And
it has to, because it switches to the part. What I guess that would be the chorus that's not in a
yeah.
major key, and it makes that part kind of more powerful, I believe. So
Yeah, I love this song. It's great. But then you get Bleeding Me, awesome psychedelic vibey one. I will say Cure is a bit of a forgettable one. I only ever hear it if I listen to the album in full.
yeah,
Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse here. Yeah, Poor Twisted Me. It has vibes and grooves aplenty. Wasting My Hate. Now, this is in a similar vein as Ain't My Bitch, with just being a fun rock and roller.
yeah.
And then to my response to Mama Said, all I have to say here is James Hetfield country solo album coming when exactly? You know, I would fund that because he is remarkably good at that vibe.
That
I
is
know
the
you.
only way I would ever buy a country album, I think.
Yeah.
If Hetfield's behind it, I'll buy it.
Hetfield sings Johnny Cash. That'd be fucking cool. I support that.
Yeah.
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 But
Honestly, when I first heard the album, like that wasn't as like people. I guess that song, they're like, oh, how could they put this on the album? And I was like, I don't know. It was kind of a cool little moment. Like it made the second half of the album kind of unique because it was there.
that's the thing with like a side B. You need to add a little sauce to keep people invested. You know, that's where you throw your curveballs. Oh man, Thorn Within has an awesome Sabbathy riff. I think that Ronnie is underappreciated. I love the bounciness of that riff. It's got a real southern rock vibe on it.
Yeah.
But the Outlaw Torn, huge, epic, vibey closing track that had to be shortened because it didn't fit on the album.
It does feel it does feel to me though like I think my only problem is I think we talked about this before when we were talking about this album in the 96 podcast we did. But Bleeding Me and Outlaw Torn are so similar. It almost feels like they had this long jam session recorded with two different similar riffs to the same drum beat, and they just went, "Oh, we could just make this into two songs." And they're both good songs, but they're so like one could just lead right into the other, and so that's why I've always been like, I think that the Outlaw Torn on its own is great, but in the context of the album, I'm like, if they did this kind of thing already. And slightly better in my opinion, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So that is my number 7 with Load, an album that grew on me, and I like a lot more these days.
All right, we're not matching up at all. My number 7 is going to be what I consider their comeback album, Death Magnetic, and I already talked about this a lot. That's another thing. Like I feel like I like to have our conversations have a back and forth when you're talking about it, and then when I get to my part, I go, let me just blow out a few things and then move on. But yeah, so this was a big deal for me. This brought me back into Metallica in a big fucking way. And the first song I heard was actually a live performance of Cyanide, and I remember going, all right, this is pretty cool. But then I remember one night in my car on the local radio station, they premiered The Day That Never Comes. And once the last half of that song was over, I was just like, it sounds like Injustice for All. Like it just, I mean, I was just like, that's fucking sweet. And so yeah, the more that I talked about this album and how I feel about it, I think it's amazing. It's a huge comeback album. It's, honestly, the only reason that it's not in my top 5 is because I tried to be more objective with my ranking. But in the feels, this is in my top 5. But I do realize that some people could view this as them retreating a little bit because they did Load and Reload, and then they tried to do something a little different with Saint Anger, and then you said, oh, well, let's go back to how we did things before. Because you can tell these are the songs that were written the way they used to do it, with Hetfield and Ulrich doing their demos together, and I think they went back to doing like the riff tape thing where they just patched together the parts that were the best and made it into a song, which is the way that they used to do it. And
I think there's something beautifully full circle about it, though, because if you look at like footage of them like recording the album, sorry to cut in there, but like
that's all right.
There's a part where I think he's recording Judas Kiss with like the white V that he used on Kill 'Em All, which is something that stood out to me. I don't know if it's like a replica or not, but
I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, that's badass.
Yeah. But it does have that for old school fans. I still don't get it when people claim to be old school Metallica fans and they don't like this album. I don't. But then again, I really do feel like I'm learning more and more that when it comes to the label metalhead, I fit like kind of on the fringes of that label. I don't really like fall fully in the middle because I do appreciate things in a different way, and I like different kinds of things. And the big thing about Death Magnetic, though, was that it did, like I said, bring me back to the feeling I had when I first got into Metallica. And some of the songwriting, I think, is just so fucking amazing. And they do like an 8-minute song and then do a lot with 8 minutes. And there are so many moments where there are so many fuck yeah moments on this album, and the production doesn't bother me, like I said. So if you take that into consideration, I mean, I don't know. It's one that's aged amazingly well, but this was an album when it came out that it didn't leave. Like I had the CD version, and it didn't leave my car stereo for months. It was the only thing I listened to. And I saw them on the tour for this album too, which was pretty cool because it brings us to, we mentioned this band earlier. The opening band was Gojira, and then Lamb of God played, and then it was Metallica, which Lamb of God are fine. I'm not a fan, but they put on a good show, and it was fun. And in the bathroom, somebody mistook me for one of the members of Lamb of God. I don't remember what his name is. He's one of the guys with a beard and long hair.
I can see it happening.
But I remember being in line, and I think I was dressed like him too, because I think I was at the show in a black T-shirt and camo shorts, and I believe he was wearing the same outfit. And so I think they were all like, "Hey," and I'm all like, "No, I'm just some dude peeing. I'm not in Lamb of God. Why would I be in this bathroom, dude? Seriously."
I was literally wearing the same exact outfit today when I went to my grandma's house to go on my drum kit.
Yeah,
I was literally wearing the exact same thing.
but I just remember that show was fun just because it was Metallica. Just because I saw them on the Load tour also, which I'll talk about. But on this tour, for some reason, it really the whole vibe was back with just them as a metal band. And just the one thing that I have to say though is that when I first heard Death Magnetic, a lot of the songs, as much as like I'm a Lars Ulrich fan. I like what he does. He's perfect for the band. I don't think he's obnoxious. I think his attitude is kind of endearing. He makes me feel excited about stuff when he talks about it. But I can still be super critical. I know he's not the best drummer in the world. I know that, he has his flaws. He also has things about him that people don't realize. Like they talk about how he's a very simple drummer and he doesn't do a lot of fills or fancy stuff. I'm all like, but do you see how fast and hard he plays for 2.5 hours? You couldn't do that. Yeah. And a lot of your favorite drummers couldn't do that to that extent. Not only that, he plays all this fast shit and then immediately jumps up from his drum kit and runs around the fucking stage. I mean, he does not get enough credit for being an integral part of the band. Energetic, but also an integral part of the band, not just in how they sound, but also in how the songs are written. He's a big part of the arrangements.
Yeah, the arrangement side of things, like people don't nearly give, like Metallica would be nowhere near as big as they are, ironically, without the dude that gets shit on the most, because
I absolutely agree.
He's so, he's very business minded. He always had contacts, and he knows how to write good metal songs. But
also he was the person that pushed the band a lot in a lot of ways. Like when you read about the kind of person that James Hetfield was early on, you need a Lars Ulrich.
Yeah.
You need that guy. And so people have said it before, and I'll say it again. No Lars, no Metallica. That is, and some people would say that would be a good thing, I guess, but you're a moron. But that being said, as much as I love Lars and I think that he's important to the band, sometimes I have criticisms about his drumming. And then when I heard Death Magnetic, I went, is he really doing these things? Like, are there triggers? But then, like, you go back and you watch the making of stuff on YouTube and you see him playing the songs with the double kicks happening and all of the shit. And I go, all right, fuck, he can play it. And so it made me, like, and seeing them live too, it made me kind of reassess him at that point, because I was like, oh, okay. So he can do the things that he's supposed to do. He alters it a bit for the live experience, because some fills, they don't even fucking come through. Who the fucking cares? You're playing to a massive arena of people. You don't hear as many intricate things as you would on like in a club show or something. But also, it's just, you look at the amount of energy it takes to do what he does. But yeah, the drum. I love the drums on Death Magnetic just because I feel like it's him doing what he does the best that he's done it in a really long time. that was a long way for me to basically talk about how I think Lars is great, and I don't care what anybody says. But yeah, Death Magnetic is great. It's aged very well to me. Still sounds amazing, and yeah, I couldn't put it any higher just because I do realize that in a lot of ways it is them kind of going back to things that they've kind of already done, and I will agree that the production could be better. So it ends up here at number 7. But when it comes to albums I listen to by Metallica, this is definitely in my top 5.
Wow. Okay. So on a little bit of a kind of a similar era, but you know, a fair few years later.
Okay.
I've got for my number 6, Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Nice. Okay.
So I like this one a lot more than you do.
Well, I mean, I do like this album. You have to remember, we're talking about my favorite band ever. So.
Oh, for sure. But this is the album for me that dismantled any small but lingering doubts that Metallica would release another album that would really hit the spot for me. Like this to me personally is the best one since the Black Album. Like I really enjoy everything, almost everything here. Because especially for me, coming into Metallica in like right in the first few months of about 2010, you know, that was coming off of the heels of Death Magnetic. It had been 2 years that album had come out at that point. So the following year in 2011, Lulu comes out, and I'm thinking,
hey,
what? Like, yeah.
Let me pause you though. You said the word. We're not including it here, but let's take a moment and talk about Lulu, because if you remember, when we did our first original podcast, you may not remember this. Our first original podcast of this, where we included all these other Metallica albums, Lulu was not the last one on my list. And
I know.
It's because going back and listening to it, I was like, this is a pretty interesting listen, and it's got some cool shit on it. And do I think that Lou Reed gets a little bit annoying at times? Yep. But overall, like, it is not the worst album ever made. It's got some really cool shit on it. And I feel like we do need to do the podcast where we talk about the non-regular album Metallica stuff. But I mean, you can say a few words about it if you want.
Here's my thing. When I contextualize it, my feelings towards Lulu are kind of shaped by who I was at the time. Yeah. So, like, being a 13-year-old kid who'd been into Metallica for 2 years, or sorry, at least a year and a half, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, new Metallica coming out. And then, you know, to hear this weird experimental thing with Lou Reed of all people as well, you know, yeah. I was thinking, I was like, I kind of just wanted a new Metallica album, like, you know,
yeah.
But and then
I can't explain to you how happy I was when they first released the single from it, because even at that point, I was already sick of metal people online, because I was just like, fuck you. So when they put that song out, I went, this is so good. This is exactly what I want Metallica to do. I want them to be like, oh yeah, fuck you. Like we do what the fuck we want, and you're gonna listen to it. And it's still, that's the thing, is it like Lulu is an album that so many people fucking hate, but try to go buy a copy of it on vinyl online. The shit's expensive because people want the shit, because it's fucking good. It's not great, but it's good.
Here's my thing with it though, is that, like, you know, following the release of Death Magnetic, I'd been into Metallica from the start of 2010 up until most of the way through 2011.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, oh, cool, new Metallica, right? It's Lou Reed with Metallica as his band doing this experimental wild thing. And at the time I was thinking, yeah, The View has a cool riff and all, but this album as a whole is like a big what the fuck. I just want a new Metallica album. But then the thing that stung for me was having to wait another 5 years for said next Metallica album to release. So I was kind of like looking at the fucking years roll past me. Like, I had been through the entirety of high school in a pocket of time between the release of Death Magnetic and Hardwired. So throughout high school, I had like no new Metallica albums. So I was like, well, this is fucking great, isn't it? So when
they did enough to make me happy though, because probably I remember the build up to Through the Never coming out. I was so excited about that movie. And I fucking love that movie. I think that is one of the most underrated things ever. Like,
I still need to rewatch it.
It is a movie that I don't understand. I understand why it didn't do well in the theater, because it's a limited audience that would want to go see that. But people who talk about just filmmaking in general, sure, it's not a fucking Academy Award winner, but if you think of the idea of the concert film and that movie and the amount of effort that went into it, it's such a fantastically fun and different style concert film, and I love it. And so, like, you're waiting for another album. Like, that was the thing that I was just like, I'm okay if they're taking the time to do this, because I'm just so excited for it, and it was a big deal for me. But yeah, Lulu was also a big deal because it seemed like such a big middle finger to the metal elitists, you know.
I can see it, like, looking back now, but it's like, you know, I was a 13-year-old. I still, you know, my idea of metal was the Big Four and certain Black Sabbath songs I knew. You know, I still had yet to know anything about all the 80s stuff that I would fall in love with later. Hell, I wasn't even into my grunge thing yet. You know, this was still, I was really into like 5 bands.
And that's interesting, because this is a really great example of how how our experiences differ, because this is literally a case where we were both alive, both experienced this thing coming out. You being, would you say 13 years old? At the time.
I've been 13.
And me, like, I was in my 30s and I had my baby daughter like in my arms the first time I heard the first single off of it. So we're both at completely different areas of our lives hearing this one thing for the first time.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about it is, like, now retroactively looking back, I mean, obviously it's Metallica's 40th anniversary this year. Meaning it's Lulu's 10th anniversary. So that's fucking wild.
If they do a box set of that, I'll fucking buy it. No shit.
Nice. Didn't they do that, like, big tube thing with, like, the posters and, like, it was like a big care package thing.
At that point I wasn't collecting anything. Like, I wasn't collecting vinyl for sure, but I also wasn't really collecting anything, because I would always have so many money problems in my life that I would end up selling everything. So I just stopped buying stuff altogether. So I just bought the regular CD of Lulu when it came out, and that was it. But let's move on. We can talk about Lulu. We'll do another podcast where we talk about albums like that, because I feel like we could talk a lot about it. But we were on to Hardwired to Self-Destruct when you finally got that new Metallica album.
Yeah, so Hardwired, fuck yeah, thrash. I remember sitting in just in my armchair playing. It was probably one of the many GTA games, and I had like a notification pop up on Facebook, and it was like Metallica uploaded a video or something. I was like, Metallica's uploaded? What? 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 You know, like, and I watched the video, and I was like, there's a new album coming out. Like, one of those sudden, it dawned on me right after it happened. I was like, this is a cool one-off song. And it was like, oh no, this is the title track for like the whole 12-track album coming soon. What?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I literally,
I
I was falling over myself, grabbing my phone to go to the website to pre-order it and everything. I was just like, this is awesome.
Yeah, oh, man. And then like they periodically, because all of this album's tracks have videos, and they kind of. They dropped a few, and then on the day of the album's release, they dropped all the rest at the same time, if I remember.
Well, they did it. They did it like every hour or something like that. They kind of spaced them out, because I remember I was at work, and I should have been working, but I wasn't. Every time that a new one would pop up, I'd watch it. So it's like almost like you got to hear the album before the album came out, because the final one was released and then the album was released.
Oh, it's fucking cool. Like that's the thing. Atlas Rise. This song also fucking rules. Now That We're Dead, it's catchy as hell. Like that's the thing. It's not my favorite. Moth into Flame, though, for me, is up there with their 80s work, in my opinion.
It's great. It's a great song.
It's just as strong, and I agree that it could sit. I agree that it could have been like a one-off song they released in like 1990 on the heels of And Justice for All, but just before the Black Album.
Yeah.
Like, it's got that catchiness to it, but it's also thrashy. It's got kind of it's got like a similar kind of feel to Holier Than Thou. It's like not completely thrashed out, but it's still heavier than just like radio rock.
Speaking of that song, another gripe you hear. What are your thoughts on their performance with Lady Gaga they did of this song?
I fucking loved it. I was pissed that they screwed up James Hetfield's mic, but thankfully there's been like a doctored re-release of it. But I personally, I'm going to go out here and say this. Lady Gaga was one of my favorite artists before I got into metal. My three favorite artists, if I remember correctly, were Eminem, Lady Gaga, and Weird Al Yankovic.
That's awesome. I mean, but before I got into metal, I was into Madonna, so I mean that makes sense. But
I've got the Immaculate Collection saved on fucking Spotify, dude.
Hell yeah, man.
It's pretty unfuckwithable.
The interesting thing about that performance is I liked it too, and it just goes along with the old man backlash that people are just, I don't know, people are boring. But
Billy, where's this lady on the stage with my favorite band?
Yeah. But the thing that I liked about it is that the version of it where the microphone's cut out, if you watch the dress rehearsal where everything goes okay, there's no moment where he goes over and sings into the same mic that Lady Gaga is singing into. So it created this really cool moment where all of a sudden James is like, fuck it, I'm coming over here. And it's just the two of them singing together. I'm just like, I'm not a big fan of hers, but I do like her. But just that moment, I'm just like, that's really cool. And it's well known that she's a metal fan. She used to play metal songs in her shows. Like during parts of the show, she'd play old Metallica or something like that. And so I like it when bands do things like that. Maybe that's another one of the many reasons why Metallica is one of my favorite bands, because they are not afraid of doing interesting shit just to say, fuck it, let's try it. And that alone makes me enjoy it. And I love the song Moth into the Flame. And I mean, honestly, I'm all like, go. They want to do a version with her singing on it. I'm like, great, put her on that shit. I'm down with her. She's a great singer. Anyway, I just wanted to put that in there because it's like whenever you talk about Metallica, there's all these people that they always want to chime in and be like, are you going to talk about the snare on Saint Anger? Are you talking about Lady Gaga? I'm like, no, we talked about it. And you're a dumbass piece of shit. And we're awesome. Thank you for listening.
Hell yeah. Oh man, just shifting into the next track as well, Dream No More. Mm-hmm. This one doesn't get nearly the credit it deserves for being so fucking chunky. Mm-hmm. Like that chorus, you turn to stone.
Yeah, it's great.
I love that. They really pull back on the tempo as well, like I just love I love that like thing that should not be kind of feel on it.
Yeah. Which is
man.
I mean, it's going back because it's them doing like a Lovecraft kind of thing again. So it's almost like hearkening back to older stuff too.
That's the thing. Like, there's a lot of, like we'd said before, there's a lot of love letters to their previous works on this one. Here's where I think this is my most controversial opinion about this album. One of my least favorites is Halo on Fire, and I don't know why.
Oh, okay. I think it's great, but yeah.
I've never been able to pin it down. It's just, to me, if they're like more ballady kind of tracks, I mean, it does have like a cool chorus and stuff, but compared to other stuff on here, I just prefer the feel of a lot of other tracks on here. It's also important to note that this is technically a double album as well, because it comes on 2 discs.
Yeah, and I guess the vinyl technically is 2 discs as well. And even then they didn't include Lords of Summer, which was written kind of in between everything, and Lords of Summer ends up like on a bonus disc or whatever. Which honestly, I think Lords of Summer is a pretty good song. It's not one of their strongest. So when it wasn't on the album, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. We have it somewhere recorded.
Yeah, I actually remember, just before I continue as well, it seems good to mention this halfway through, before I start the next disc. I remember the morning I went to go get this. What was it, like November 16th? I distinctly remember it just because it's, my favorite band releases a new album. I'm like, oh shit, remember this day. And
apparently I don't like them that much because I don't remember dates.
For me, I remember being on the bus on my way to college and getting off because I had a free period in the morning. That's a really cool red sunset, by the way. I wish you could see it. But
yeah, people out there, take our word for it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice sunset. But yeah, I remember getting off of the bus and walking into Truro, which is like the only city in my county, Cornwall. And it's a glorified town because the fucking cathedral towers over everything else anyway. But I remember walking to the HMV, walking straight in, going straight to the metal section, getting the deluxe CD, the 3-disc one, which is sat right next to me. And I remember walking up to the counter, buying it, and walking straight back to the bus stop to get the next bus. But I brought my laptop with me, which at the time still had a disk drive in it. So I was like, on my bus ride in, I was like, quick, import these into my iTunes, and then put it on my iPod and listen to it throughout the day.
Can you imagine going back? I mean, you weren't alive, but somebody comes back to me in like 92 when I got my first CD player, and one day they'd be like, one day you won't even be playing these. I'd just be like, what?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. A day where like we finally got this great sounding format, and you're telling me that like we're not going to use them anymore, and I'm going to start buying records? Like what the fuck happens in the 2000s?
It's a strange one, isn't it? How it came full circle again. But Confusion is groovy. Here comes Man Unkind has an excellent feel to it. I love the riffs on that one. Here Comes Revenge grew on me, especially after seeing it live. Mm-hmm. Am I Savage has that gnarly breakdown in it. And considering it's an E standard, it sounds heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
But Murder One is a tribute to Lemmy, but sadly one of the most forgettable songs on the album, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
it seems like it should be better.
Yeah, but man, Spit Out the Bone, what a fucking ripper of a closing song. Like, there's a part in it that reminded me of Pantera as well, that like
the breakdown in the middle.
That cool little part there.
And then it slows down even more. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, I'm going to need to re-listen to that song right after we do this podcast. But it's so cool. I love almost everything on this album. And the only thing keeping it out of my top 5 is the fact that there are already 5 amazing records.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let you take over and do your number 6, unless you have anything more to say.
No. I'm looking forward to whatever they put out next, and it's an album that I love because I've got 2 different versions. I've got the original vinyl version and the box vinyl version of it. So I like it. It's just I know they can do better, and I think that they will. But I had to wrap up my top half because you're correct when you're talking about the later stuff they did. As much as we love it, compared to those first 5 albums, is ridiculous. So so my number 6 is going to be Load from 1996, and really, the big reason for this one being the top of the bottom half is because it, in my opinion, is them taking a chance and doing something. And overall, it was pretty successful. As much as it alienated some fans, critically, people seemed to like it. And it was a number 1 album. All of these fucking albums from this point on are number 1 albums when they come out. They haven't had... That's the one thing I think is interesting, that people like to talk about Saint Anger like it was a disappointment. I'm all like, it was a number 1 album. Like, what the fuck more do you want? But when Load came out, I'm going to be kind of quick with this because I talked about this in the 1996 podcast. So go back and listen to that, where we talk about our favorite albums from 1996. But when I first heard this album, it was being played in its entirety on a radio station right before it was released at midnight. And I said this before on the other podcast, when Ain't My Bitch starts and the lyrics start, I just went, what? This is like a parody, right? Because you go from, like I said, he used to be so good at like using these interesting words and these interesting turns of phrase along with these kind of badass moments. And literally it starts off with "out of my way, out of my day." And I'm just like, did you write that on the fucking toilet? Like, I'm just like, how much fucking thought does that take? You know, like, first off, the line "out of my way" is so just like, okay. But then to rhyme it with "out of my day," I'm just like, okay, all right. So I was like, oh man, what the fuck? But they had already released the single for Until It Sleeps. And I liked Until It Sleeps and still do today. So I guess that was the first song I heard. So I already knew this would be different. I just didn't know that it was going to be that kind of, I don't know what even to call that. And I know there was probably James Hetfield going like, oh, I don't need to overthink things so much. And I understand that. You don't always need to overthink things like that. But I was just so not impressed, and still went to the record store at midnight anyway and bought it when it came out. And I listened to it a lot, and there were songs I loved at first, songs I didn't like at first. But over the years, it's really grown on me. And honestly, I think now it is a very solid album. And it gives you a lot more of a variety, which me as a music fan, I love getting a variety of songs on an album. And so when it comes to everything they've put out post Black Album, this to me is the best example of them doing whatever the fuck they want, but still putting out an album that I think is really, really good. And sure, did it make me as excited as Death Magnetic? Nope. I don't listen to this one near as much as Death Magnetic. But I really do think in the story of Metallica, this album is really important because this solidified that they weren't going to do what everybody just wanted them to do. And that's part of why I love them. They're going to take chances. They're going to spend millions of their own dollars making a movie that flops. They're going to put a whole bunch of money into doing a festival that apparently didn't make very much money, or I don't know how that whole thing worked, but they did that for like 2 years, I think. The
Orion Festival.
The Orion Festival. But they are just a band that constantly says, have we done that yet? No. Let's try it. And I like that about them. And Load is the beginning of that, of realizing that this band has already established itself as being a badass band that can kick the ass of most musicians and bands out there, or just, metal in general. Like they were at the top of everybody's lists and shit. But they could have continued just kind of doing that, and they didn't. And whether or not the intention was to reach a broader audience, that doesn't matter, because if you put yourself, I mean, maybe not you listening out there, but if I put myself in the shoes of being in a band for 10 years or whatever and reaching that kind of success, setting a goal of like, let's do shit that like broadens our audience, that seems like more of a challenge than it does a sellout. Because everyone likes to talk about albums like the Black Album like they were guaranteed to be successful, and they weren't. And so when they did Load, it was a gamble, and in some respects, they did lose some fans based on it, even more so than they did on the Black Album. But to me, that's more exciting than bands today, thrash metal bands from back in the day. I'm not going to name any names that have been around just as long as Metallica and continue to put out albums that sound exactly like, sure, there's minor changes, but it's so similar to all these other albums that they've already done. And everyone is just like, album of the year, man. And I'm just like, why? Why is this good enough for you? And that's why.
Guys, I've got a great idea. We're going to tune down half a step. Whoa.
Yeah. I just think that maybe that's what it is. The day that Metallica started to piss off metal fans, they became a band that I love, because there's nothing cooler than dominating a genre and then saying like, peace out, bros. Like that, like
it's like a mic drop.
Because it's different when your band isn't very successful and then you start changing your sound and people can be like, oh, you're chasing success. But they weren't chasing success. They had it. They could have stopped making albums after the Black Album, and they, as you've seen, it still sells hundreds of copies every week or whatever.
Yeah.
They would be fine. They didn't need to do anything else. And honestly, the thing that everyone seems to forget is that Metallica making albums that you don't like doesn't mean they didn't make Master of Puppets, which we'll get to. But like I said, all of these albums and all of these things they've done have added to them being my favorite band of all time. It just keeps piling up, the reasons why I love these guys so much. And I really do think Load's where it started. It's the first, we don't care what you think, not just in the album, but even visually speaking. Like, you read so much about people being so pissed off that you look through the liner notes and they're wearing eyeliner. Well, some of them are wearing eyeliner, and they've got like nipple piercings and shit. Yeah. And like
Kirk's dressed like a pimp.
And I know that James had come out saying that he wasn't on board with all of it, but once again, that shows like a strong conviction with them as a group of brothers in a band, that like he was still just like, all right, I mean, we'll do this because we're a band that we are together. We compromise and we make the best we can make out of what we all want to do. And so, musically speaking, he was 100% behind it. It was just the image part that he had a problem with. And honestly, I thought about this the other day, because I remember there was a big thing that people complained about, because I don't know if it was just one time or if it was several times that in public, Lars and Kirk kissed each other.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, first of all, if you're a homophobe, please stop listening to our podcast. You're a piece of shit and should die. But on top of that, every time I hear people complain about that, in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, here's confession time. In my 20s, I went through a period where I had a male friend that I would occasionally kiss in public just for the fuck of it. Yeah. Because that was, if to me, I'm not a homosexual. If I was, that would be fun, but I'm not. But if you've never had a point in your life where you felt like you wanted to rebel against the norms of society, then you are a person I don't want to talk to. Because, I mean, I don't care what it is that you're rebelling against. That's just a natural thing to especially when you're in the limelight. Like I just, if I would do the same thing, I would have been more like Lars or Kirk during this period, because I would have been so like, don't you fucking tell me who I am. I didn't get into music for fucking rules, man. Rules. And so like that just adds to my love of this period of Metallica, because I'm just like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's pure rebellion, and it's pure them having the balls to do whatever they wanted. And I could drive that point home a million more times, but I'm not going to, because this has become probably the longest episode we've ever done, I think. But that's my number 6. My number 6 is Load, and that wraps up our first half of Metallica. And hell yeah, I'm glad we did it this way, because we're really getting to talk more about shit and not have to move on so quickly from one album to the next. I think if anyone had heard the first one we recorded, I'm pretty sure we were all very nervous, and we were just like, Death Magnetic, I like it, it's cool. What about you?
I feel like it was kind of like it was a good opportunity for us to really give this catalog the deep dive it deserves. Yeah. Yeah.
And I really do think that once it's all said and done, eventually I think we should do a podcast where we talk about the other releases from Metallica, because I think that to both of us, they're that important of a band. And some of you out there, well, you probably already turned it off if you're one of those people, because you're not a peanut butter platypus, you're a peanut butter piece of shit. I love all of you, even the ones that don't really like everything we do. But so I was going to say something, but I don't remember what it was. But anyway, that wraps it up for the first half. Do you have anything to add before we sign out? I love it when I make you laugh like this. It makes me feel like I've done enough for the day.
I'm still losing it on peanut butter piece of shit.
We pull no punches here, folks.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a fantastic fucking discography, and we're only halfway through.
Yeah, and we're gonna get. I mean, obviously, everybody knows that we're both talking about the same 5 albums next episode. The question is, will they be in the same order? I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that's. I'm thinking maybe a couple now, because, and this is not me being swayed by anyone else's lists. I think my order has changed since last time, quite significantly. Perhaps maybe 4 of the spaces.
Mine too, because I'm trying to be a little more objective.
Yeah.
Cool, but go ahead.
No, I had nothing.
I was going to say that before we get to that, we're actually going to be taking a little bit of a break. So you're not going to hear from us for a week. So there's going to be a little bit of a, what do you call that? Anticipation, a build up to our top 5 Metallica albums. But yeah, once again, we appreciate you guys listening, especially those of you who last through all of our shit. And honestly, this has been a cool year. It's been a year that we've been doing this, and it's become a thing that I look forward to more than anything else that I do on YouTube or anything like that. Like this is my favorite thing.
This is definitely the most fun I have with regards to any of this.
Yeah.
It's just two bros nerding out about their favorite bands.
Yeah, it's always fun. So yeah, that wraps it up. I'll be quick with the wrap up here because we're over 2.5 hours. So
Wow.
Thank you very much for listening. Once again, if you're on YouTube, put some comments down below. How do you feel about the ranking? What is your ranking? Yeah, that's basically it. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, go and rate us and do a review because hopefully it makes us stand out more in the world of podcasts. Because I listen to some podcasts and we're kind of better than some of them. Not all of them, but I think we deserve a little more exposure, but maybe we'll get it one day. But anyway, that wraps it up for this episode of Cranked and Ranked. And as usual, I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
Ooh, later, dude. Yeah.